Did Hugh pick you up at the office, or?
Yeah.
On the night that Miller's comet passes close to Earth, 8 friends gather at the home of Mike and Lee for a dinner party. The guests are Emily and her boyfriend Kevin, Hugh and Beth, and Amir and his girlfriend Lori. Almost immediately, there is tension in the room. Amir has brought Lori, who is Kevin's ex-girlfriend, and she wastes no time flirting with him at the table. Emily notices and says nothing. On the drive over, Emily's phone screen had cracked on its own without any impact, and she mentions it at dinner. Hugh looks up and says the same thing happened to his phone earlier that day. The group brushes it off and moves on. During dinner, Emily brings up a story about an older Comet event in which a woman claimed her husband was not the same man she had known the day before. The table finds it amusing. However, moments later, the power cuts out across the entire neighborhood, leaving every house on the street completely dark, except for one, 2 blocks away, which still has its lights on. Mike digs out an earthquake kit and finds boxes of glow sticks in 3 colors. The group each takes a blue one and steps outside briefly to look at the comet passing overhead before heading back inside. There, they notice a wine glass on the table is shattered. Nobody touched it, and nobody heard it break. Hugh then reveals that his brother, a physicist, had specifically warned him to make contact if anything strange happened during the comet's passing. With no phone signal and no internet connection, Hugh and Amir volunteer to walk to the lit house down the road and try to use their phone. They leave while the rest of the group waits. When Hugh and Amir return, Hugh has a fresh cut on his forehead, and Amir is carrying a box he found at the other house. Inside the box is a ping pong paddle and photographs of every person at the dinner party, each with a number written on the back. Hugh explains that before knocking, he looked through the window and saw a table set for 8 people. The group begins to suspect the lit house is not simply another house on the street, but an alternate version of their own. To test this, Hugh writes a note and walks back to leave it at the other house. However, when he returns, he finds an identical note already pinned to their own front door. The handwriting is his. Determined to get more answers, Emily, Kevin, Mike, and Lori decide to walk to the other house themselves. However, halfway down the dark street, they run directly into another group of 4 people coming the other way. The 2 groups freeze and stare at each other. The other group is carrying red glow sticks instead of blue. Both groups panic and run back to their respective houses. Back inside, Hugh retrieves his brother's physics book from his car and finds handwritten notes tucked in the pages explaining quantum decoherence.
Regular physics would say
the notes describe how under certain rare conditions, parallel realities that normally remain separate can collapse into one another. The group begins to understand that the dark stretch of road between the houses is a boundary between realities, and crossing it at random means stepping into a different version of the same night, with no way to guarantee returning to the original one. Meanwhile, Mike starts drinking heavily and becomes increasingly paranoid, worried that the other versions of themselves from different realities may not share their intentions, and suggests dealing with them before they come first. The rest of the group resists, but the tension in the room rises sharply. Shortly after, Hugh leaves another note at the other house and returns with 2 different replies instead of 1, confirming that there are not just 2 realities overlapping, but many. The glow sticks the group had relied on to identify themselves as belonging to one house are now meaningless. People have been crossing in and out all night. Emily then sits down and carefully reasons through who in the room is actually from this house. She concludes that only Lee and Beth, who never left the house all evening, are original to it. She and Kevin are from a different house. Hugh and Amir from a third. And the Mike currently in the room is from a 4th entirely. The group scrambles to build a new identification box using photographs, dice rolls for numbers, and a randomly chosen personal object to verify who is who. Then a note slides under the front door. It is written in Mike's handwriting and contains a blackmail message referencing an affair between Mike and Beth from 12 years ago. Hugh reads it and looks at Mike. Before anyone can process what just happened, Hugh punches Mike. The evening has fully unraveled. Desperate to find a way out of the chaos, Emily leaves the house alone and begins moving through the dark stretch of road, crossing from one reality to the next. She enters house after house and finds each version of the night has collapsed in its own way, with the same arguments, the same confusion, and the same fractures playing out differently each time. However, eventually, she finds a house where the power never went out. A version of the evening that stayed calm, where no one went outside, where Kevin is present and at ease, and nothing has gone wrong. Emily watches through the window and makes her decision. She lures everyone in that house outside by smashing Hugh's car window from outside. Then she waits. When the alternate version of herself comes outside to retrieve a ring from her car, Emily ambushes her and sedates her with ketamine. She then locks her in the trunk of the car and walks back into the house, taking her place at the table. Later, another alternate Emily finds her way into the bathroom. Emily subdues her as well, hides her, and takes her ring after losing her own in the struggle. She returns to the living room and passes out. She wakes the next morning. The comet has passed and the house is calm. Kevin finds a ring in the bathroom and brings it to her, smiling. Everything appears normal. However, moments later, Kevin's phone rings. He answers it, and his expression changes as he listens. He slowly turns to look at Emily. The call is from Emily. The film ends there.